Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweety and Sweety, we're here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Sent Us podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about their favorite flicks or TV shows from their childhood. I'm Sweety with a Y.
And I'm Sweety with an IE.
And tonight, long overdue, tribute episode to the one, the only, Bob Saget. And more importantly, whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, even in TV. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, there's a whole dream, somebody who needs you.
I just like this part.
When you're lost out there and you're all alone, don't wake the baby up. Light is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look. What was the 90s without white guys scatting? That's what I have to say. Wow. So guys, wow. Full House. Okay. So unfortunately, sad, very sad, devastating news in the news recently. Bob Saget, comedian, has died at the pretty young age of, how old was he? Like 60 something? Devastating. I was devastated. A lot of people have fond memories of Bob Saget. A lot of people, I mean, he's their favorite. He was in, very memorable cameo in Half Baked, very raunchy comedian that guys loved. It was their favorite fact. But I knew him as Danny Tanner or Bob Saget on America's Funniest Home Videos. So that's really like the brand that I had of Bob Saget.
I forgot about that.
What?
I know. I can't believe it. He was the best at that.
Right.
The voiceovers on America's Funniest Home Videos.
Was for sure in the 90s kind of reemerged as like a family comedian, which was very interesting because he really came up as like this raunchy comedian who told like very raunchy jokes. So it was like the funniest joke to everybody that this raunchy guy was playing America's TV dad.
And
believable. I think so. I refer to myself as a Full House scholar.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I think I am. I think I know everything about Full House. I think if you ask me any question, I would tell you what the answer is because I'm very knowledgeable.
Sweetie, how many times do you think you've seen like the whole show? How many seasons is the show? 10 seasons?
8. I think 8 seasons.
Okay. So you've watched it obviously all the way through.
Many times.
And many times. How many times?
I had all the DVDs, so I would watch it religiously like before streaming was even a thing. And then when streaming was a thing, forget about it. I was circulating that like every year.
And in what context were you watching these episodes? I
These
feel like
were
an FBI agent.
These were my Full House was my eating show.
Okay,
so like I always need like a cozy show where
eating
like
your sandwiches.
Nothing gross happens. Yes, eating sandwiches. So I really got into a lot of trouble because I would be like, oh, I need a delicious sandwich, and my excuse would be like, I need to watch Full House. But then I would always like eat way too many sandwiches and then get fat. So
your sandwich
you know
show.
what? It was my sandwich show, but I don't regret it. And a lot of people. It was very uncool to like Full House when we were growing up. I think that at least in my elementary school, you were made fun of if you admitted that you liked Full House because little boys thought it was so dumb.
Did we watch it live? We did.
No? I don't know if we watched it totally live. It was definitely TGIF. So like we watched it here and there.
The later ones.
Maybe reruns. But I don't know if we were like,
I think the later seasons we did, but not
maybe
like
not
the young
the
ones
because
we were too
we would
young.
go back. I would go back and watch them, and I really got a kick out of it.
But the early ones we were too young because you are like the same age as Michelle.
Exactly. So probably the later one. Speaking of the baby's up.
Yeah.
But I loved Full House, and I would watch it all the time. I thought it was pretty hilarious. Yes, it is extremely cheesy, especially in later seasons, especially when Michelle gets older and is talking and attempting to act more. But the early seasons were like pretty much comedic gold, I feel like. I think they're so funny. I think they hold up. I think the chemistry is great. I think Bob Saget is a goddamn genius.
The three guys, I mean, I don't know. I think when you're watching that when you're little and it's all about like the girls and how cute they were and stuff. But
it was
then
always like, a lesson.
Right. It was way too morality play. Once you like are older, like, oh my God, this like you're getting hit over the head with a frying pan of like, do this like to be a good girl or a good person. But I would say watching these now or recently, it's the chemistry between the guys that I just get like the biggest kick out of.
Yeah, I just love it. I don't know. I just found it so cozy. Obviously, we related to it because we were also a family of 3 girls. More or less the same like age range as DJ, Stephanie, and Michelle. Oh, we did not have 2 crazy uncles, but the girl part was legit, right? I mean, we had Uncle Mike, but
no, but like blood uncles, we don't have any.
We don't have any blood uncles. Wow, sad.
I know.
Sad day. But yeah, Full House. Good times, guys. So mostly we're going to talk about Full House today. Maybe a little bit about America's Funniest Home Videos. But really mostly in tribute to Bob Saget, who I feel was fantastic.
And I will say, like, whenever someone has died, like that, and people say things or whatever, but like you don't know who they are really as a person, right? So they're just like this celebrity or they host these shows or whatever. But it did really seem to me of the people recently who have died that like Bob Saget was like a really nice guy that everybody like really loved. Like no shitty stories have come out about him. Like no rapey stuff about
no rapey stuff. I mean, so he was married for a while. His wife sadly passed away like either during Full House or like right before.
Like his wife on Full House?
Yeah. So like she had cancer or something or some disease. And she died, and that was pretty devastating. And I remember learning that from watching the True Hollywood story about Full House.
Remember
or
those?
Bob Saget
Good
or something.
stuff. You learned
also
a
good memory.
Yeah.
But sad. But then I guess he remarried. He had kids. He was, I guess, at his core a family guy. He definitely did a lot of partying. I remember listening when we used to listen to The Nerdist before the Chris Hardwick's own rapey stuff came out. Not rapey, but like bad.
Yeah.
He was friends with John Stamos and the actor who played Steve, and they used to hang out with Bob Saget and get absolutely like trash. Like hanging out with Bob Saget was like one of the reasons Chris Hardwick like was an alcoholic, basically. If like there were some party times, but that could have been like after his wife died and he was finding a way to cope or whatever. But I think on the overall, as of now, we believe he is a good guy.
Right. I mean, you never know. I mean, who knows? Like the people who not everyone is like totally beloved. There's always going to be some stinkers who don't like you, right? But in general, from what I've heard, it seems like he was well received in Hollywood and was a good person to work with. Mm-hmm. Like no weird stuff has come out like, oh man, like he was such an asshole to work with, like needed like all the shit in his room.
Yeah. And I think like the main goss on Full House was like he obviously his character in Full House is this very like wholesome family man kind of guy. And then when the camera would stop in between takes, he would like spit off like raunchy shit and like even in front of like the kids. And John Stamos famously did not like that at all. And it made him kind of mad that Bob Saget would do that because he didn't think it was appropriate with the girls around on the set.
That's who he was at heart.
Right, but that's who he was. Bob Saget and Dave Coulier knew each other before Full House, just from the comedy circuit. So they were actually friends already. And I think it took a little while for John Stamos to kind of come over to the other side. I think they went on like a boys bonding trip after season 1 to get some more chemistry. And as a result of that, Dave Coulier and John Stamos actually became closer friends, which is actually mirrored in the show itself too, because Joey and Jesse become buddies and form their own like jingle writing business. So it's pretty funny. Life imitates art. But yeah, so Full House. So started in 1987, the first season was. And the premise is a dad had a recent widower whose wife has died, passed away in a car accident, tragic, killed by a drunk driver. Very, very heart-wrenching. We don't know about it, but we just hear about it. And so to help raise his 3 girls, he enlists his brother-in-law, Jesse, his friend, Joey, who's a comedian. Jesse, first season, was an exterminator, and his name was Jesse Cochran and not Jesse Consopolis. Second season, they're like, let's make you Greek, actually, like yourself. So they switched it up. But yeah, the girls. So we got Michelle was a tiny baby in the beginning. She was like a year, maybe under. Stephanie was like 4 or 5 when the show started, and DJ was like 7 or like first grade or something. And the show went on for 8 seasons, and they grew up, and it's really kind of remarkable, I guess. Now, I think this happened a lot in the 90s, where you would have kids go from point A to point B,
the Wonder Years,
right? And they really did grow up with the show, and you saw them grow up throughout those seasons. Very fascinating. I feel like that doesn't happen as much anymore because TV is shot too quickly or like far. I don't know. Like it seems like kids grow too quickly or something.
They don't do that many seasons.
Right.
Well, Modern Family, I'm gonna say that's a good example of that.
Yeah.
They don't really have very many
Blackish
running ones. I guess.
But it's really this family sitcoms, I guess. You have to have that because you can't just like switch up the kids.
But it's one of those things that like when you're in the moment of watching it, it's like your own kids. Like you don't see them like grow up before your eyes.
Right. And then you're watching and you're like, whoa, you're so old. Like, it's really nutty.
Yeah, it is nutty.
But cute show, obviously very corny. There would always be like a corny segment at the end where like Danny would be like, okay, girls, like you know that you can't do this. And it'd be that sappy music. Dun, 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 dun. But I mean, there were some legit heartwarming moments. Yeah. Who can forget the time that they pull out the old family videos of the mom bringing home baby Michelle from the hospital, and you get to see the mom for the first time? Special shit. Yeah. Really good stuff. So yeah, so I guess today I just wanted to talk about Bob Saget, I guess in general. So the story is that they actually had hired a different actor to play Danny Tanner named John Posey. And they filmed the pilot with him. I don't know if they filmed much else. I think just the pilot. They originally wanted Bob Saget, but he had a conflict. So kind of similar to Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future with that other guy, Eric Stoltz, where it just kind of like, just really like, it wasn't working out. Like there wasn't a fit. And I think that happens when you have like a preconceived idea of somebody you want in a role. I feel like whoever you get to fill it is not going to measure up quite to probably how you envisioned it. But so they have it on YouTube. You can search Full House pilot, and the one is like John Posey versus Bob Saget, and they'll show you side by side scenes of the pilot with this other actor John Posey, and then with Bob Saget, which ended up being the final version of the pilot. And the difference is night and day. And like I feel bad for this John Posey guy, but like he just like was phoning it in or something. Like,
well, was it the difference of that guy was just like straight up actor, and you had Bob Saget coming in with some comedic timing from his background as a stand-up comedian,
or just like well, I mean that's also like just acting. Like I feel like the other guy was like reading lines, and like Bob Saget makes it his own almost immediately. He comes in with this whole persona and like this thing, and he's like add-in touches here and there, and it's like night and day. And then the other thing is that like the other actors, like John Stamos and Dave Coulier, are even better in the scenes with Bob Saget because they vibe off like his energy and his comedic timing, and it was just such a better fit, and it's like really wild to watch it. So I recommend checking that out. It's quite enlightening, but it really shows like how strong his comedic timing is. He just had like such a great way of delivering his lines. Just some like really solid ones. My Sweety and I have a couple favorite moments. One of my favorites is when, so first of all, when the show starts, Danny is supposed to be, get this, turning 30 years old, which is like kind of terrifying because I'm 35. Am I 35? 36, 35, 34, 35. I don't know. I don't know how old I am, but fuck guys, I'm 5 years older than fucking Danny Tanner was with 3 children.
It was a different time.
One who was 7. Anyway, so in that episode, Joey and Jesse are all excited because they got custom like fuzzy fur seats to put on Danny's beloved red convertible car, which you see in the opening credits of Full House, named Bullet is the car's name. And so they're all excited about it. And Jesse's like this hot shot. He's like, all right, I'm going to go fit the Bullet for the seats. Somehow on the way back from getting these seats fitted, he gets in this crazy accident where the car, I guess Jesse was not in the car. Someone had hit it and then it had tumbled over like the Golden Gate Bridge and like fell in the bay. And it's like this mangled car. And so they tow it back to the house. And then Danny finds the present that they hit it. And they're like, no, don't open that, because they don't want him to know that the car is mangled in the back. So he gets it and it's like he's so crushed. And like the next scene is Danny like reading a goodnight story to Michelle, and it's like, what does the cow say? And it's like, moo. He's like, and then the next page is like, oh, and what does the car say? And then Michelle like doesn't say anything because she's legit a baby, and Danny's like, that's right, honey, he doesn't say anything because he's dead. And he just like delivers it like so dry and so perfect. Ugh, it's one of my favorite scenes. Sweety and I's one of our favorite sister scenes is in the very later seasons. They're trying to get this like special toy for
like
Michelle.
Cabbage Patch
yeah,
doll.
like a Cabbage like Mania toy at the toy store. They can't keep it on the
Tickle me
shelves.
Elmo, blah, blah, blah.
So there's like a madhouse rush to get it, and Danny's going into this like mob to try to get one. He's like, if I don't come back, tell my girls I love them and to always use a coaster. And then he like goes back in. It's like classic Danny Tanner.
Love it.
And those really stuck out for us. The thing about Danny was that he was a clean freak, was really like the thing that summarized his personality. But it's interesting, fun fact you might not know, is that he didn't really become a neat freak until season 2. In season 1, he's very much portrayed as like a slob. There's even an episode where his mom comes and sees the house is like a wreck, and she enlists Joey and Jesse's mom as well to come in like help, and they think they're gonna have to move in because the boys can't clean the house. Right. And it's such a interesting, because later Danny's such a clean freak that like there's an episode later where like the family stages like an intervention to be like, you are crazy. But I really got a lot of good cleaning tips from Danny, and I love his motto: a clean house is a happy house. It's true. If you clean, the house is great. You're in a positive mood. Everything's great.
Oh, totally.
So I respect it.
Yeah, I wonder if they did that to add just so many more jokes, because you could do like this part of his personality.
And that was always like most all jokes about Danny were about
yeah.
his cleaning obsession later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, here's what I liked about Bob Saget also. He's very interesting looking. Like, he's very skinny. He's very tall. It just was like an interesting, also sort of like comic relief kind of stuff, just like his appearance. I thought like really
gangly,
like
really
super
gangly.
Full House, which I always thought was interesting too, takes place in San Francisco, so I thought the setting was always really cool. I have been to the Full House house. I just want to say, when our sister lived in San Francisco, she took us there. It's in this section of the city. These houses are all like that. They're called the Painted Ladies, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's like a white house with a red door, and people are all taking photos outside. I think it's painted slightly different now, so it doesn't look like exactly what it was. And it's not that they filmed it there. It was just literally
the
the
exterior,
facade,
yeah,
the exterior. But it is cool to like, and like, what a location. Oh my God. Like, jealous to girls.
Really, yeah,
what
to
the
like
heck, they
grown
live
up
there? Oh my God.
On Girard Street.
Yeah. Crazy. And
yeah.
so I always thought that was really cool, especially coming from the Northeast and watching it, and being, you know, San Francisco and California especially was just this like mythological place, essentially. Like, we'd never been there. Like, I hadn't gone until my sister lived there, and I was in my like mid to late 20s. But very, very cool. I also like that they had him be this TV personality. So remember, he was the anchor.
He was the sports guy.
Yeah, sports guy for Wake Up San Francisco.
No, just he was just like the sports reporter.
Okay, sports reporter
in the first couple seasons.
But then
gets offered a TV show called Wake Up San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And with that came Rebecca Donaldson, who we all know as Lori Loughlin, recently convicted for school fraud or whatever. Right. So was, I don't know, sentenced or something, I don't know, disgraced. Yeah. But yeah, he was like, he had a very and that's, I guess, part of the reason why he had Jesse and Joey come and help, because he worked nights, because he would do the sports at night and then wake up San Francisco's in the morning, so that he got more time with his kids. But yeah, he was very like chatty, and like that was part of the character of like blah, 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 you know, like it just fit, and it just like everything worked.
Yeah, and I liked. I mean, this just goes to the show too, how they were able to grow that show from like the dynamics and the stuff that they added in like really worked. So you had the introduction of Rebecca, who then like met Jesse, who then they had a family, and then those kids lived with them. And then you had, once Michelle got too old to be cute, then you had like the little boys who were twins, and it was like
Nikki
double
and
cuteness.
Alex. Yeah.
They came in, and then you had like Danny dating somebody.
Vicky.
And then you had like obviously the girls grew up, and then DJ got Steve, who became like part of it. And so they did, I think, a good job of just like keeping the show like rolling, and adding like different little elements, keeping the core group the same, but introducing like also some kind of interesting people that kept it going.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Definitely some notable guest stars. Who could forget when Denise, who's Michelle's friend, is like, my Uncle Richard's coming to pick me up. He gets drunk at the parties and puts the punch bowl on his head, and they're like, wow, your uncle sounds crazy. And then the uncle comes to the door, and they're like, who is it? And it's like, Uncle Richard. And you're like, wait, what? And it's fucking little Richard is her uncle, Richard. And he sings he helps.
whose uncle?
Denise.
Who's Denise again?
Michelle's black, like the black friend,
Oh,
the
yeah.
cute girl who
Yeah,
like dance. She's the Jorny Smollett or whatever, who's like an actual actress now. Taj Mowry was Michelle's original friend, Teddy. Super cute. Loved him. He moved away to Texas, but then he came back. And then who else had? Oh, of course, Kimmy Gibbler was obviously a mainstay. She was the
Classic.
next door neighbor, DJ's best friend. I think Bob Saget had like gross jokes about her in his comedy act about like fingering her or something, and like that kind of freaked me out. So like I tend like not to think too much about that. This was when they were older, I think, not when she was a kid, but yeah. So people love that, but. So Bob also did America's Funniest Home Videos, which, if you don't know, was literally a show where people sent in their home videos hoping to win it big, and the prize was like, I don't know, $10,000 or something if you won them. Yeah. Whoever had the funniest video.
Now that seems like no money at all.
But it seemed like there were only a few videos were up for the big prize, and then other ones were like very small clips.
Right.
But they made it seem like they were all vying against each other. But I'm pretty sure they were only ever like 3 in competition for like every show.
Yeah, who knows? Or were they all just in the same bucket and then they picked the best out? But now I'm just like hearing the show in my head and him being like, and with Dog Bites Baby, the Anderson family.
And they're in the audience and they're like,
yeah. And they were, from all corners of the U.S., so they were all really
and then
different looking people.
The audience would vote on the video they wanted with the little things in front of their seats. And you'd be like, do.
Pick 1, 2, or
just
3.
like Star Search. Is that like Star Search also?
But it was such a great show. As I said before, he had this great knack for doing this really hilarious voiceover, and I think he was responsible for like doing all the writing of all like what they were going to say. And he
was
different voices.
I feel like it must have been like an improv.
Yeah, it might even been improv. I mean,
be like, hey, what are we doing? Brilliant. Are we going to go over here? And like, yeah, I'd like to rewatch some of those because that was really funny.
Because I'll say now, so that show is still on. Alfonso Ribeiro from freaking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air hosts it. There's no voiceover. It's like so boring. The videos are terrible. They're not funny at all. And I'm like, did this show like really just didn't? I mean, why was it funnier then? Did it have to do with the Bob Saget voiceover and this whole thing?
Maybe. I think that also maybe part of it is like people are trying to find the funny video in their family now versus like it just being happening and being organic,
and also because there's too many videos now.
Now
people
it's
have
videos,
a video attached
Instagram,
to their
all the
hand.
thing. Yeah,
but this used to be spontaneous because you would just have the
only
camcorder.
it would be when you were filming with that giant camcorder
and not trying to get something funny. You'd be filming Christmas.
So it'd be, and like someone falls on their butt or like whatever. So
Gosh, funny show.
some of those were great.
I mean, I remember our dad like cracking up hysterically,
and we
at that
wanted,
show.
yeah. We were like, oh, I wish someday we had one. We had a funny some video, but
We thought we
had
that
some good
one
ones.
when he took the camera
Oh,
into the bathroom, and it was not filming, but
Maybe
he
X-rated.
He filmed himself peeing,
But it was just the sound?
and it just kept going. We also had one. See, this isn't good. It never would have flown. But like, the camera was on like in his camera bag, and he was walking around Disney World, and this couple was like behind us having an argument. Do you like kind of remember this?
The guy was like, I don't know, honey. I really
We
gotta go to the
yeah.
bathroom.
I really gotta go. I gotta go to the bathroom real bad. This like total stranger. We're like hearing about his like
Yeah.
toilet trouble.
That's the closest we got. But we did always want to be on that show. But yeah, so hopefully you can watch reruns of that somewhere. But love Bob, love the show. I'll fight for it until the day I die. I just went on IMDb, and there's somebody wrote a 1-star review, and their review was
They do that
the
on
word
purpose.
rather bland and irritating. Okay, clearly
sense of humor.
you're not the target here.
Okay, I want to go back to just blanketly talking about Full House for a second, and just say a couple things.
Yes.
Just like some episodes that like stick out. I'm not going to describe the episodes, but let's see if people will remember these as much as I do. Ready? Okay.
Well, am I gonna? I mean, I can.
You will. Obviously,
is it a quiz or you're just talking about?
I'm just saying, and you're probably going to be like, oh yeah, you love that one. Okay, these are the ones I remember, right? Okay, I just made like a little list. Okay, the Motown Philly episode with Stephanie.
Classic.
So Stephanie becomes like a professional dancer, not really, but she's like a kid, and she's very serious about it, right?
Yeah. So she
I really
quits.
connected. Okay, I also will say sidebar.
Yeah.
I am Stephanie. I connected to this show a lot because I was exactly like Stephanie Tanner. Here's why. I was a middle child. I was a goody two shoes. I was annoying, and I was a dancer.
and a blabbermouth.
And really, we as a family we connected to the show
Yeah.
because our personalities really did align with the 3 daughters.
It was creepy.
Yeah, it was really kind of creepy. So I am Stephanie. I'll wear the pin. I'm proud of it. Anyway, the Motown Philly episode like really connected. I don't know if you remember, but like Stephanie is in this dance troupe, and she gets basically
So
like
good.
she flubs it on purpose.
Yeah. So she realizes she begs Stanny to let her take these dance classes, and he's like, it's a big commitment. You're gonna have to miss things because being a dancer is a lot of hard work. And she's like, I don't care. I want to do it. So she does it, and she realizes that she doesn't have any time for like her friends or hanging out with her family. So she doesn't want that life. So she decides like there's some like big shot dance producer or something at the show. And so she sees him and is like, oh, I don't want him to like make me do more dance classes. So I'm going to pretend I'm terrible. So she throws the dance. But it's embarrassing. And then Danny has a serious talk with her. And then they go back out and try it again. And she kills it.
Yeah, she kills it.
But she ends up, I guess, just like scaling back her dancing. But she's able
Just
to
a
do
smart
other
thing to do.
things.
But it was to Motown Philly. I remember she had this baseball
so good.
cap, this like sparkly ensemble. I loved it. I wanted to be that and do that whole thing.
Yep.
The coasters one, as Sweety already said, that was great. Okay, the workout one, which we just watched recently. I'm not gonna lie, great episode. Poor DJ Tanner, Donna Joe. Crazy name, first of all, right?
Donna
Like a
Joe.
first name.
Yeah.
Donna Joe. What's her middle name? Judith.
Margaret. Donna Joe Margaret.
Yeah. DGJMT.
Sounds like
It's
a
like
disease.
I don't know. It's supposed to be in like middle school, and she's upset. So Kimmy Gibbler's having a birthday party. Kimmy Gibbler's so skinny, and she's having a pool party
in the winter.
in the winter, and DJ's freaked out. She doesn't look like a model. I mean, she's like 12 years old and needs to like work out. So she doesn't eat for like 3 days. She's only eating like ice popsicles, and then they all go out to this like gym to work out as a family, and she passes out on the Stairmaster. Oh man. Good episode, but like so sad and fucked
So
up.
sad. And there's this part where she like has taped all these models on the fridge, and she's like, I'm gonna look like them. And I was really like, wow, the 90s was so toxic as far as like expectations of beauty. There was one I just watched there's a show on Hulu, documentary series kind of that Mark McGrath narrates, that's called like the 90s, something in the 90s. And one of the episodes was about the supermodel thing that happened in the 90s. So really supermodels were not known in the public sphere until the late 80s, early 90s, when you had the invention of the supermodels. And that's really, I feel like, when our standards for beauty really got out of hand, because you had people like Cindy Crawford, you know, selling things to you, and you're like, whoa, like that is a babe, and guys were like, that is a babe. And then that was all people cared about, and that was the standard,
and they were stars. Now I feel like you don't have a supermodel, like they really are just like, I couldn't tell you anyone who's a model right now.
Well, they're like all Victoria's Secret models, and like you can't really think.
But those like classic, like Naomi Campbell, like Linda
right, you don't have
the
that
star.
They're definitely there,
ones.
but they're not like on the cover of things, because what happened is that
modeling like everything.
Well, they started. Right. It used to be just models would be on the cover of magazines. Then it moved to actresses, and it kind of took the place of supermodels. But yeah, it was definitely a different time. But poor DJ was, you know, and she was like she was definitely a normal looking girl. Like she was not a skinny, like a Kimmy Gibbler, like chicken legs kind of person. Like she was normal, but she was so cute. But she was so cute, and DJ is so pretty. And so Fuller House, they did the reboot, right, with the DJ grown up, and she's living with Stephanie also. And Candace Cameron is like she's just like a really pretty person, and it's a shame she's so crazy and religious. It really ruins it, but she's awesome.
But it was also classic, and I feel like this happened to our older sister too. That age bracket that DJ was in at that time is like classic awkward, and like nobody looks good in middle school, right? And then you do blossom and become this like beautiful woman, which she did. I mean, and that's just like what happens. And it was kind of like we were saying, when the show watched the kids grow up, you really like had that view of them going through these like awkward times. And it was kind of cool to see.
It was fun.
I also really liked, I don't remember specifically, but once Rebecca and Joey had like Jesse had the twins, like I said, that was so fun. And then you had like another influx of babies, and like how cute they were. And then, like I said, there was two of them, and they were boys, versus like when Michelle was a baby, she was a girl. So it was like a whole different dynamic. Just really, really awesome. And then I remember this learning to drive one that just came to me. Do you remember that? They're like in a parking lot, and Danny's like freaking out. And then does something happen with the car, or is that a different episode?
So so that's DJ learning to drive, and so Danny takes her out, and Danny's method for teaching driving is very like, okay, we're gonna go nice and slow. He's like, we're gonna do this, and he's like teaching her all these like little sayings to like help her. And he lets her only drive in the parking lot, and he's like, watch out for the tree. The tree. She's like, Dad, that tree's so far away. It's like, the tree, DJ, the tree. And he's like freaking her out, and she like messes up. And so then she stops. And she's like, I'm not driving with you anymore. Like, you're a terrible teacher. You stress me out. So then she goes with Jesse. And then he's very cool. He's like, just play it cool, baby. And he's like being cool. But then she like takes the turn too far, and then like scratches Jesse's like beloved convertible car or something. And so I forget what the outcome of that is. I guess they decide that she just needs to learn, and they have to suck it up, and then she's back with Danny, and then he lets her drive on the highway or something.
Okay, sorry.
So,
last one I'll bring up is the makeout party one with Stephanie. Okay, so when Stephanie gets a little older, and she's friends with this girl named Gia, who's kind of like a troublemaker, and she has a sleepover party, and then boys are invited, and it ends up being this like makeout party because her mom's like really cool or works or something like that.
Waitress, yeah.
And Stephanie gets very uncomfortable, and then she has to like call Danny to come get her.
No,
right?
She tries to call DJ, but Danny has laryngitis. So when he picks up the phone, she thinks it's DJ, and he's like,
DJ, come get me.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm in a party, and then like comes and picks her up, and then like busts the party open, and then like, wait, man. But who? Okay, are makeout parties real? That's my question. Never been to one.
I
obviously.
watched that episode and be like, I
think that's so awkward. I would never want to go to a party and like make out with somebody next to other people making out with each other. Isn't that like an orgy? It's like seems like an orgy. It's one step away. Yeah, that was a great episode.
I love all
classic
I love all those.
episode.
I mean, there's just so many, and it was a really great show. Lastly, you can finish off. It's your jam. But the one other thing I want to say is that years ago I had this dream. I still remember it to this day.
Me too.
Where I'm not really sure like what the context was, but
you got a phone call.
I got a phone call. That was it. I got a phone call in the dream, and the guy on the other end of the line was like, "Cut it out," and I go, "Joey Gladstone."
I love that story.
Why was he in my dream?
Oh, man.
Why was he calling me on the phone?
The classic,
I don't
cut
know.
it out.
But I love that, like, in the dream, I knew just from that phrase who it was. is just
Joey. Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Joey, Dave Coulier, obviously very famous for probably being the person that Alanis Morissette wrote You Ought to Know. But if you watch the recent Alanis Morissette documentary on HBO, she does not confirm that and says that she dated a lot more people than Dave Coulier. So now it's like, was it him?
Seems like an odd couple. Always thought
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. I never could look at him quite the same after that. Even if it's not about him, I'm kind of like, ugh, because she was very young when he dated her. And I don't know. It's kind of like, Joey was a comedian, but was like famously like not that funny. Like he was very like cheesy comedian.
Yes, I still would say that.
I think there's one, his
impressions
like
are terrible.
Star Search episode has seemed like more of his real bit. And that was like a little better, but like he mostly does like voices and things like that.
Popeye one?
Popeye
Ooh,
voices, the ground,
what was his little
Ranger Joe,
Puppet?
that guy. So yeah, Joey wasn't my favorite. The sad thing, okay, here's what I'll say about Joey. It's like justice for Joey though. The first season, they fucking stick him in the alcove in the living room. He doesn't even get a real room. He gets an alcove, which is Jimmy was like, "What's an alcove?" I was like, "I'll tell you what an alcove is." It's just like literally a tiny like, I don't know, 10 by 10 section of the living room that has
Gotta watch that season.
not
again.
even a bed. I don't know. And then he's on a comedy tour for 2 weeks, and then they redo the basement and give him like a bedroom. And you're like, wow, I can't believe Joey only got a bedroom like the second season. That's fucking nuts. I would revolt. Can you imagine? Wow. Joey, yeah, but they had a lot of good like location episodes. They go to Hawaii in one, Disney World. I don't know if there's any other ones where they go places.
Okay, sorry.
But
I just am asking you one more since you're the
yeah,
expert.
expert. Yeah.
Is there an episode where there's something with like the Greek family?
Oh, yeah,
and you
yeah.
have like the cousin
So
that is like
yeah.
Michelle in a black wig.
Yes. So there were two. Groundbreaking Greek episodes. So the first one is when the Greek family comes, and it's like the Papooie or whatever is like the grandpa, and then like the grandma, and then this girl that Jesse like had a brief relationship with in the summer in Greece comes, and then her brother who falls in love with DJ, and there's like some Greek ceremony where you like walk around the kitchen table holding a flower, and then you're married when you do that with the person. So DJ gets married, and you find out that Jesse had gotten married to that other girl too, and then the little girl Mina or something is the other twin that's not playing Michelle at that moment. So there's actually like 3 or 4 episodes where were able to get Mary Kate and Ashley in the same episode at the same time. In different ways. So you have that one, the Greek one. You had one where Michelle has like a good angel and a bad angel kind of like telling her to do things. And then the last episode when Michelle falls off the horse and gets amnesia, the way that she like remembers herself again is like her other the twin is like, remember we used to do fun things, and then they like hug, and then they like join back into the body. So that was cute that they got to act together. But yeah, that was the first Greek episode. The second Greek episode, though, Papooie or whatever comes back to visit and dies.
Oh my God.
And then in his sleep, and then Danny has to tell Michelle, and Michelle like really gets along with him. This is very later in the series. Papooie, I think is his name. And it's very sad. And I remember she's like on the boat, and there's like the fake tear running down her eye because like she couldn't cry on cue as a small child. But yeah, that was sad. But it was funny how like, so Jesse is supposed to be Danny's wife, who's now passed away, his brother, and Pam. And in the video that they watch of her bringing Michelle home from the hospital, she's like blonde, like spunky. She is not Greek whatsoever. So it's very funny that they did that they made Jesse so Greek, where you're like, whoa, you were like in Greece, like you're very Greek, and Pam was not at all. And then you meet Danny's sister at one point. She's blonde too. Yeah, it was just like they would introduce other people, and you'd be like, whoa, this is weird. A lot of good characters, a lot of good episodes, a lot of good lines. So good. I love it. And I like all of them at different stages. Like I love Stephanie when she's young is like peak Stephanie. I love that Stephanie. Michelle when she's young, great job. When Michelle gets too old, not good at all. God. But very early Michelle, classic. So really good stuff. So yeah, I mean, I recommend a rewatch. I think that's streaming on HBO Max. It moved there because it's owned by Sony or whatever the whatever HBO merged with, like TBS, I don't know, like something. So definitely check them out. I do have the DVD box sets. I used to have them all, but I sold the later ones in college when I didn't have any money, and then I spent all that money on like Tostitos
Who
and
has
queso.
Andre's box sets of Full House? Can you please sell them back to her? Thank you.
We don't need them now. Everything's streaming.
Sucker.
Everything's streaming.
That's true.
But I don't know. I get a kick out of it. I don't care if it's cheesy. I don't care. I love it. And I could tell you anything about
It really
it.
defines you.
Anything
And
you want to know.
I hope in 10 years you'll be having the same amount of knowledge about Beverly Hills 90210 because
Yes.
it's your new phase, your new
I
sandwich
mean, I know
show.
a lot. I was about to bring in some Beverly Hills 90210 into this conversation. I don't know why. Oh, because you were saying Alfonso Ribeiro. So, yeah.
That's another show I've been watching
Fresh-
recently. again.
Fresh Prince?
So good.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Also great. Great.
So good.
So, we didn't talk about the theme song. So, theme song was sung by a man named Jesse Fredericks or something. He did a lot of famous TV show theme songs in the 90s. So he started with Perfect Strangers, Full House, Step by Step, and Family Matters. And Sweety and I did a marathon watching all of them back to back. They do sound very similar, especially Family Matters and Full House. But that guy, I mean, telling you, the 90s was a time for like white guys giving their all in these theme
Really
songs.
selling
Like
it.
really going for it. Their runs are just, incredible.
Yeah. And I was so impressed that those theme songs are like so tattooed on our brain that we put them on and we could like instantly sing along with them even though we hadn't heard them in
Right.
20
This was
years.
before you could press like skip
Yeah.
on the theme, so you had to watch it every
all
time.
the times. It was really magical to me just singing along
yeah.
to like the Family
And then
Matters
like
theme
yeah, and then the opening credits is like so weird, like the picnic and like little Michelle's running with like the giant fake bread or whatever she has in her hand, which
And,
I
like,
thought was like a cheese
and
log.
all the parts of the family got like a little mug thing and then them doing something like candid casual like here's like someone
By the
ironing and
bush,
they'd like
yeah.
smile and
Hey.
the actor's name would flash below it and it was like every part of the family got that. You don't have that at all now. It's just maybe a running like line
Well,
of
credits
things
like
if-
aren't a thing. Like,
yeah, it's not
remember
even a thing.
movies would be like when you watch a movie today and you actually are forced to watch. The only movie that I can think of it is like James Bond, where that happens, and it's cool because they have like a whole opening credit sequence and the song is very important. But now, occasionally you'll get a movie where like you do have to watch the opening credits, and you're like, "Fuck!" But that was the thing in the '90s. You had to watch those credits because we weren't fast forwarding. I'll tell you, I don't know why. Man. Good times. Good times. So yeah, that's our Full House segment and tribute. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any Full House questions, please feel free to direct them to me at the Sweety Club on Twitter, on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Sweety can pass along your questions to me. I do have access to the Instagram, but I famously do not use it. I'm just like, social media is hard. Like I'll do my own stuff from time to time, but then sometimes I won't, And then it's just like, I don't like for things to be like a job. Like I don't want to feel like pressured to do
you
things.
just have to get used to doing it.
Right,
so.
and I don't.
And you're not.
So it's not
Yeah,
working
you
out for me.
didn't-
but
you're supposed to take control when I was on having a baby, and you didn't even do that.
Okay, but I can see all your messages,
Don't
Michelle.
don't talk
so,
shit about Sweetie. She's on the
Just
other
kidding.
end.
Just kidding. I love you, Michelle. But I do see the messages. So if you do have something to say, I will respond through Sweetie, or myself sometimes. Who knows? You'll never know. But thanks, guys, for listening. I hope we didn't scare you with my Full House knowledge. Like I said, I'm a scholar. Call me. All right. See you next time. Bye. No rape artists.